Aloha! This is Chris from Better Together Travel Stories, and we just got back from Hawaii, the island of Kauai specifically. Have a wonderful time. You're going to see linked up here a little bit later links to some of the stories we have about our adventures out there. But both before we left as well as while we were there and even coming back, on our YouTube channel, Facebook page, Instagram, there's been a lot of questions and a little bit of confusion, I think, about what it takes and what's the best thing to plan for and what to expect as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic and how Hawaii is addressing this. So we thought that I would take some time today and kind of share with you our experience, what we've learned, some tips and tricks and how to prepare so that when you go to Hawaii, you can have a phenomenal time. So with that, we'll start with the basics. For those of you who may not be aware, let's make it very simple. Hawaii still mandates a quarantine of 10 days for anyone who is coming from outside the Hawaiian Islands to the Hawaiian Islands. Now, you may be saying to yourself, but I hear about all these people going, Chris, that you guys had to have a quarantine. We did not. And the reason why is that we followed the process that Hawaii has as part of their Hawaii Travel Safe program. And because of that, we were exempt from having to follow that quarantine. Now, you may be asking, okay, what are those steps? Very simple. The first thing you need to understand is that there is an app on the Hawaii travel site. You actually see a link down here below. And going to there, you're actually going to create a profile. And this profile is something that you'll want to keep handy because it will guide you through the process necessary to be able to fly to Hawaii, to be verified as being COVID-19 free, and then being exempt from the actual quarantine. Once you download the app, it's going to walk you through creating a basic profile. You're then going to go in and you're going to put in your trip information. By putting in your trip information, you're letting them know what airline you're flying in on, the date that you're arriving. You're even putting in the information about where you're going to be staying. The purpose of this is obviously that they want to make sure that were something to arise, they know how to get a hold of you and inform you about a COVID-related situation. If you're someone who does have concerns about your privacy, there is a link on their website that goes into more detail about what your privacy rights and expectations should be for their website and how they're using your information. So that's step one. You've created your profile and you've put in the information related to your trip itself. The next stage is that you're actually going to get your COVID-19 test, and the results of that you're going to upload to the website. Now, this part is very important. In order for your test results to be verified and to be valid for flying into Hawaii, they can be no more than 72 hours prior to you landing in Hawaii. So, I'll give you an example. In our situation, in Chicago, we are 5 hours ahead of Hawaii, which means that for the time we are leaving, we actually had to make sure that we were not only taking into consideration that we were 5 hours ahead, but also that we had a 3.5 hour layover in Los Angeles. So because of that, we had to wait until Thursday to get our test to make sure that we fell in line with the expectations of being no more than 72 hours before the results of our test. That's very important. I've heard stories of people who have landed within Hawaii only to find out that when they took the test in their home city and state, that the results fall outside that 72-hour window. I've also heard stories of individuals who have actually had delays of their flights, and because of those delays, they also landed into Hawaii without the test results being valid. So the best way to avoid that is just be very clear. If you have to, get a piece of paper like I did and work out the time frame in which you have to take the test. Put a shout out right here for Walgreens. They've been phenomenal for us. We take tests both prior to and 3 to 5 days after we take any of our trips, whether they be international or domestic. The longest we've had to wait was about 12 hours. I just had a test yesterday. Usually within 30 to 45 minutes, we're getting our results now, which is fantastic. But They do say for the test that you should take, which is the red dot test, the NAAT test, that you should get in 24 hours. So kind of respect that and plan accordingly. Okay, so now we're 2 steps into this. At this point, you're pretty much set. You can start making all your other plans. One big suggestion I have for everyone is that if you're planning on renting a car, start that process now. As you may have been reading and hearing in the news, there's not a lot of cars available. More people are going to Hawaii, and they're finding that either cars are not available or they're having to pay some really high prices. For us, because we planned about 2 months ahead of time and made our reservation, we were able to get our Jeep Wrangler for $470 for the entire week, which was a steal, and we loved it. But one of the things that sometimes people don't realize is that there's typically no down payment required for renting a car or reserving a car. So it's in your best interest to go ahead as soon as you have some commitment as to when you're going to be arriving somewhere. Go ahead and start that process, find the car that you want, and hold on to it. Another question that is asked is, if you're fully vaccinated, do you still need to present a copy of a negative test result for COVID-19? And the answer today, which is April 29th, is yes. Now, there are plans afoot within Hawaii to, by May 11th, allow individuals who have actually gotten their complete vaccination, they have their vaccination card, and it's been at least 14 days since their last shot, to be able to upload those results, and by doing so, not have to provide a negative test result. That is not the case as it is right now. So whether you had your final shot 14 days ago or 2 months ago, you are still obligated to bring with you to the airport and upload into the app a copy of a negative test result. The next step in the process is you're going to go back into the app within the 24 hours before your flight. And in the app, you're going to now be filling out a health questionnaire. This is you attesting to your current health state. It's a very simple process to complete, and once you've done that, you're ready to actually take your flight to Hawaii. Now that you're ready to fly, when you go back into the application, you'll notice that there's a QR code that's been assigned to you. This QR code is what everyone from the ticketing, the airline to the hotel, rental car rentals will all be asking to see. One tip that we have is that whenever we have a QR code, whether it's being for a boarding pass or in this case for the safe travels, we always take a picture of it on our phone and save it into our photos. The reason for this is that if you do run into a situation where you don't have a cellular signal or Wi-Fi, you actually have a copy of it on your phone. It's very convenient to pull up to rather than having to search for and finding the app. But when you get to the airport, typically you'll have one of several experiences. In our case, because our primary domestic airline is American, we were checking our bags and the ticketing agent asked to see both the QR code as well as a paper copy of our test. Another tip, always have a printed copy of your test. We actually keep it in the same place that we keep our passport. It's something that you should always have with you, maybe sometimes having 2 copies, because in some cases they do ask to keep a copy of it for themselves. But nevertheless, when you get to the airport, you're going to be asked to provide both of those, either at the time that you're checking your bags or maybe asked at the gate, depending upon how you're flying. In some cases, there are airlines that once they actually verify your information, they'll give you an actual little wristband that you'll keep on for the duration of the flight so that when you land on the other end within Hawaii, they'll know that you've already been verified by the airline. And then you're flying and you're off to Hawaii. Now, when you land, you will be asked to, one, have your temperature taken, and then you'll walk through a line, and again, depending upon what the process was prior to you landing and prior to you getting on your flight, you may actually go up to a kiosk and have to present your state-issued ID, a copy of your QR code, and a copy of the physical test results. Once you do that, you'll notice within the app that you'll get 2 green check marks. One will be for verify, which means that they have verified the results of your test as being negative. And secondly, will be exempt. And this is key because it means you are now also identified as being exempt from having to complete a 10-day quarantine. You can go on and enjoy yourself in Hawaii now. If you do have a hotel or resort that you're staying at, they most likely will also ask to see the QR code and look for those 2 check marks. And the same thing for renting a car. That was our experience both for when we got to the point at Poipu, which was the resort we're staying at, as well as when we rented our car from National, we were asked to show those results. Now, for those of you who are planning on going to Maui, just be aware that they are considering, and I want to stress right now, they're only considering requiring you to have a second test when you land within Maui. This is something that they're working through the logistics to figure out how to do it, but their goal is for this to take no more than 15 to 20 minutes per passenger. But for right now, they're abiding by the other islands within Hawaii, which is limited to just using the Safe Travels app and having the verification of your results and then being marked as exempt. And so that's what we wanted to share with you. We are super excited for everyone who's taken the opportunity to go to Hawaii. I can tell you that we had a phenomenal experience and they were very appreciative of us coming to the island as tourists and really enjoying. Also, as a note, I would encourage everyone that when you go back to your home cities and states and countries, that you do take the time to take a second test 3 to 5 days afterwards. As global citizens and as travelers who are really trying to make the best of a very serious pandemic, this is a great way to demonstrate your sensitivity to others and just making sure that you're in the best position possible to keep others around you healthy and safe. So mahalo, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.